part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And welcome to another Reghi and Roda podcast powered by MGM Northfield Park right here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Shout out to our fantastic producer, Ty Quartz, making sure all of you out there in the podcatosphere get our great podcast here, courtesy of Press Play. And another shout out to MGM Northfield Park. It's Derby time, man. It's Derby week, baby. You want to head on out to Northfield Park this Saturday, May 6th. Doors open at 9:30 a.m. First post for the Kentucky Derby, 10:30 a.m. And then, of course, the big race later on in the day. You can watch, wager on all of it there at MGM Northfield Park. One team we can't wager on anymore, Michael Reghi, is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Unfortunately, their playoff run ended after just 5 games as they fall to the New York Knicks, Michael. And I had the Cavs winning in 7. I would have been okay if the Cavaliers got to 7 games and maybe lost, because at least they would have had a Game 7 experience for the young guys. But they got their asses kicked, Michael, in 5 games by the New York Knicks, didn't they?
Yeah, disappointing, frustrating, something that we just didn't expect, Ken. You know, like you said, we both picked them to win. I wasn't trying to be homerish with that at all. It was, I really felt that they'd be able to grab the win and in this series. And, you know, there's just so many variables. You can go from J.B. Bickerstaff, the head coach, to a lot of his rotations, to guys not performing as you thought they would, Donovan Mitchell, and there you go. But, yeah, I mean, real frustrating to be out like that in round 1 when you're the 4 seed in the NBA playoffs.
Reg, I watched all 5 games, all right, and I have never, in all the years I've covered the NBA, and I'm not trying to, go Stephen A or Skip Clueless and, just make a scene, right, to make a scene. What I'm saying here, I truly believe. I have never seen a team play more scared than the Cavaliers did against the New York Knicks in this series. And that's not just the young guys, too. I mean, Garland, Mobley, Okoro, but for Donovan Mitchell to be the leader of the team, to have 6 years of playoff experience, to score 71 points for him not to deliver, that's the biggest, most surprising thing to me in all of this, is that he was unable to deliver. When you look around, you see Trae Young doing what he did for Atlanta, to keep them in that series. Steph Curry today goes off for 50 to put away the Sacramento Kings, right? So I was just blown away by the fact that Donovan Mitchell was unable to deliver when it mattered most.
Yeah, Kenny, there's no question about that. And, I know I said after they lost that horrific Game 3 in Madison Square Garden to go down 2-1, Ken, you and I know this. It's tried and true with the NBA playoffs going back forever and ever. Your stars have to play well.
Yep.
Your main guy has got to play well. The next best, second best, third best player on your team, and every team knows who that is. Every team has them. And Darius Garland had a couple of decent games, but overall, Kenny, he wasn't consistent.
Nope.
And Mitchell just did not play well in terms of being the leader. I give the guy credit. He owned it last week after it was all said and done. He said
yes, he did.
Stunk. And again, you're just not going to win when you have your main man not leading you and playing to the utmost of his capabilities, and that certainly wasn't the case with Mitchell.
Yeah, as I looked at his game, and I know they were doubling him, and Thibodeau had a great game plan where they double him or run and stun or trap him, whatever you want to call it, right? So they were trying to give him, different looks and force him to give the ball up, and it worked. So give New York some credit for what they did.
Of course. Yeah.
Like I said, I expected Garland to be inconsistent. I expected Mobley to be inconsistent, Okoro to be inconsistent, but I didn't expect that from Donovan Mitchell. So he was my biggest disappointment, in all of this, Reg. And JB Bickerstaff not far behind either, because JB, had one game where he made the right adjustments, and that was it. He got outcoached by Tibbs. He did. It was evident. You look at how Mike Brown got Sacramento to a game 7. Look at Kerr in the second half today and the changes they made after they were down by 1 at the half in a game. So you see these coaches, and I know they've been there before. They've done it maybe more and experienced more. So maybe we've got to throw JB Bickerstaff into that group of Utes, as my cousin Vinny would say, and blame some of that on his inexperience in the postseason as well.
Yeah, so there's two schools of thought here. You could say, the head coach is putting guys out there, and then they got to be the ones that produce and make things happen. But there were some sure moments where you kind of looked and said, "Wow," Kenny, I said this. I know Ricky Rubio shouldn't have been on the floor at all to me.
Right.
It became abundantly clear that, Jetty Osman, I'm not a big Jetty Osman guy. I'll give you that. I'm not trying to be hard on the guy. There's times he'll give a team a lift with his energy and when he's making shots. But overall, it just wasn't there. I told you that, this was going to be 6 guys, Kenny, pretty much.
Yeah.
And right. And that's what it played out to be. I know everybody is, saying Okoro played real well. To me, played okay. Again, he gets 2 fouls in the first minute and a half, and I don't know if he played. I guess he did. I think he played 12 minutes that game, but that was game 2, the game they won, wasn't it?
I believe so, Reg. Yeah,
I believe it was. Yeah. So just the whole thing was frustrating and disappointing. And but to me, and Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, again, you can, but it's certainly not what you need from your bigs at playoff time. We said now, Cavs fans, before the series started, understand this. Tom Thibodeau is a damn good head coach. And to me, Kenny, I felt like, I said it going in that, the advantage is Knicks there with Thibodeau and what he does. And the other thing, Kenny, they are a defensive-minded group, and you knew that they were going to give the Cavaliers some problems. I didn't think that they were going to at times render Mitchell and Garland ineffective. But Ken, what did we say again? I was saying this last week after they got knocked out. I don't know. I don't think I haven't heard anybody else talk about this. Those two taking 65 to 70% of the team's shots. I believe, and I'll stand on this, and I believe it's got to change. I believe it's too much. I believe it makes your offense, you get other guys are just out there standing there, and it's just, high pick and roll. And if one of them does give the ball up, they give the ball up to the other one. To me, Kenny, it's too much with those two shooting the basketball.
What I'll say to that, Reg, is this. Evan Mobley wanted nothing to do with anything going towards the basket unless it was an uncontested dunk. Everything he was shooting was a fadeaway, a fall away. I don't know who was softer in the series, Mobley or Allen. I'm going to lean towards Allen. Both of them were soft. There's no way of getting tougher in a series, maybe in an off season, put on 15 to 20 pounds each, hit the weight room if you can, but in a series, you can't get tougher. So those two, and they were taking away the lobs, the roll lobs and everything like that. So, and Caris LeVert, again, for me, too inconsistent. Good half, bad half. Good quarter, bad quarter.
I'm going to disagree with you there. To me, most consistent player in this series, averaged 15. I remember you saying to me 3 weeks ago, Reg, I need 15 a game, every night game from Caris LeVert. I said, okay. It's exactly what he averaged, 15 a game. And Kenny, I'm going to say it again. They disagree with it. To me, Allen took 25 more shots than LeVert did, and I think Garland was 14 more in that vicinity. I thought they should have went to LeVert a little bit more, to be honest with you. He was the most consistent guy they had overall in those 5 games.
Well, I'll agree to disagree with you. He wasn't consistent throughout the game. Maybe by game's end with the numbers, Reg, they look good, but he would go 2 quarters without scoring. Okay. And then he'd go off and he'd go on a personal streak of 9, 10, 11 points. And then you look up, okay, yeah, he had a big game, but he's not I wouldn't give him the money he's going to be asking this offseason. And now that may be their only option.
You'd let him walk.
Yes. He's on how many different teams for a reason, Reg? That's the way I see it. He's been on how many 3 different teams.
Brooklyn, Indiana, and the Cavaliers. 3.
Yeah, so there's something there, with somebody that's well-traveled. That means somebody didn't want to keep you. And when you've been moved like that, even, hey, you could say that about Donovan Mitchell. Maybe Utah saw that a 6'1" guard like that isn't going to get it done in the postseason. And we saw him get some shots blocked at the rim too, so maybe that's why they went in a different direction. But having said that, that's me. I wouldn't give him the money I think he's going to be commanding, but the Cavaliers may not have any other options because of how strapped they are with the salary cap,
Yeah.
So he may get the money he wants because Cavaliers have no other options, basically.
Well, he said he wants to, he'd like to be here. Would he be willing to give them, $18 million? I don't know. He's not going to get any more than that. I mean, but again, will the Cavaliers just say, well, come on back with this. We'll give you what you've been making for a couple years. I don't know. But you know what? They better come up with a different plan then if you're going to let him walk, because you don't have nearly enough in the rest of that roster.
I agree.
You better be getting 2 more guys then that offensively can go get you 15 a game like he can, because you don't have enough. Hell, you don't have enough now. You need more. You let him go, and like I said, you better have a strong plan B to get a couple guys who can put the ball in the hole then.
They need a big-time wing. He's not a big-time wing, in my opinion.
First of all, that's the thing. People make off like the guy's he's a 2-guard. He's been a 2-guard. He's not really a small forward.
But, Reg, he's not a good enough 3-point shooter to be a 2-guard. When I look at the 2-guard spot, I think of somebody that's a shooter, that's going to be a threat from beyond the arc at about 40% or more is what I'm looking for, there. And he shoots it at about, 35% tops?
No, he was almost 39 this year in the regular season, and then 36 in the playoffs.
And so I just don't look at him as a lights out 3-point shooter to be a 2. So that's why I look at him. For me, I look at him as a 2-3, but I don't know if to me, when I look around the league, their biggest weakness is the wing. Okay. That's the one position they do not have on this roster. And don't give me Dean Wade, and don't give me, Lamar Stevens, although I would have played him more than what JB Bickerstaff did in this series, just to see if I could. Jetty Osman. No, those guys are the 3s. And I consider, LeVert, at least on this roster, a 3. And that I don't think he's a good enough 3 to get it done.
Well, like I said, to me, the guy he's not a pure shooter. He's a slasher. He's averaged, I remember you were even surprised, 13 playoff game. He's played 13 playoff games, and he averages 18 points a game in the 13 playoff games. So the guy's a slasher. He finds a way to put points on the board, and fine. But I'm saying, man, you don't have enough offense now. If you want to get rid of him, you better have a real big plan B in mind, because now you're down. I don't count a Coro. So now you're down to 4 guys that can put the ball in the hole for you, because you just said it. Osman, Wade, Rubio, please.
Yeah.
Please. Get your Homer fans off and waving your Cavalier pom-poms. Those guys are not strong enough NBA players to really do anything for you consistently. So if you're going to get rid of LeVert, now you're down to the 4 guys. And we saw what happened with Jared Allen and Mitchell. So where, Mobley. So where the hell are you going to get offense on this team from, Kenny?
Well, that's the problem. And they're right now they're strapped. They don't have a draft pick, right? They don't have room under the cap unless it's their own free agent, which Leffert is. So that's why more than likely he's coming back. Yeah, at the Cavs price, okay. If he's looking for 20, 25 million a year, sorry. I'm hanging up the phone on him. If he wants to come back at around 15 to 18 million a year, I'll consider that if I'm the Cavaliers. And he may have him over a barrel, Reg, where maybe he gets a little more than what he should. And we'll see if his agent tries to play that card, because they know, like we know, that they don't have many options.
Well, that's exactly right. And they put themselves in this situation and position. And that's why I'm saying that, is that, you let him walk now. I mean, tell me what your plan B is, because not one guy, you need two guys then that could come in and get you offense. And again, you got to make the decision about it. And another thing too, every time Isaac Okoro plays a good basketball game, it's like, oh, he's now there he is. He's going to take off. And that's what the fans do here.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, well, don't count me along that. You got to play consistently for a season. You can't be a starting three in the NBA and average 7 points a game. Yeah. Not on a damn good playoff team, Ken, that has some thought and ideal about that we can be a team that goes a long way in the playoffs, or dare I say, think about winning the championship with your starting three who plays 33 minutes a night, 34, averaging 7 to 8 a game. Come on now, no. That ain't gonna work. You want to keep, for Coro, to me, he's the one that should be the sixth man on this team.
Yes.
But again, to me, he's not a starting three on a team that has aspirations to be a strong playoff team and win a championship. Not where he is offensively right now. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'll argue that with anybody to the end of the day. You said it. The three in the NBA, that's got to be a position of offensive strength, right?
Yeah, it's got to be a premier player.
He doesn't have and again, fans, he goes and gets 14 one night and everybody. No, man, you got to do it consistently over the course of a season, and he hasn't shown he can do that yet. So we'll see what they do in that situation too.
Yeah, well, he's a high draft pick. So they're going to, go to bat for him and give him every opportunity. And that's why you heard all those hey, in the last 18 games, he shot 40% from 3-point range. Yeah, but in the first 48 games, he shot 20% from 3-point range. So
there you go.
Yeah, I'm with you on Isaac Okoro. I didn't like it when they made the draft pick.
Well, no, neither one of us did. And, again, I'm trying to not kill the kid and give him his due, but, no, I'm sorry. He's not a starting three on a team that has big aspirations.
Right.
You play him on the Detroit Pistons or whatever, or, name whoever the bottom feeders are in the league. You can play on those teams, but he can't be your starting three with where he's at offensively on a team that has championship aspirations. Come on now. That's just not going to work.
Well, and along those lines, Reg, and we'll get to our first break here in a second. I did some diving inside the numbers for the Cavaliers this year, Reg. All right. And I thought I was onto something. I thought I, felt this all season long. And after doing the research, I was correct. Cavaliers versus Eastern Conference playoff teams this year, 13-17 for a winning percentage of .433. Cavaliers versus Western Conference playoff teams this year, 6-10, winning percentage of .375. So when you put it all together, Cavaliers versus playoff teams, 19-27 for a .413 winning percentage. Cavs versus non-playoff teams, 33-8. For an .805 winning percentage. Right now, you say, wait a second, how many? They only play 82 games. Well, I added in the 5 playoff games, combined everything, so they played a total of 87 games, and they had an winning percentage against the non-playoff teams and a 40% winning percentage, Reg, against the playoff teams. And that goes to your point about Okoro and the three, what I was saying earlier. If you're going to, challenge the big boys in the East, and that's Milwaukee, even though they got bounced in the first, that's Boston, that's Philadelphia. Ain't no way Isaac Okoro can be your starting three. Ain't no way you can only have 6 guys that you can count on in a playoff series to take down any one of those 3 teams. Hell, they didn't even take down the Knicks.
No, 100%. That's great. Great data you pulled up there. Great digging. I like
How's
that.
that for data? David Fizdale would like that data.
That data was good, man. So maybe then we should have been looking at that a little bit more all season long, as you just spelled out how they got to 51 wins, because way under 500 against other playoff teams of their like in the NBA. And we know what that tells you. We know what that tells you. You're getting fat and sassy against all the ne'er-do-wells in the league, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, 51 wins. Great improvement, right? A couple of years ago, they won 22 games. They went to 44. They went to 51. I like, that they are improving. Now, if that's what they're happy with, that they won 51 in the regular season and got bounced in 5, but they're okay because that bothers me. I'm like Ricky Bobby. If you ain't first, you're last. Okay, so the goal is to win everything. Okay. And so if you come up short, sorry, Giannis Antetokounmpo, you failed. In sports, there's winners, there's losers, right? Success, failure. And I know Giannis's point about Michael Jordan played 15. That means he had 9. Yeah, he had 9 years where he failed to win a championship, because that you ask him that, I guarantee you Michael will say, yeah, I failed in those seasons. I didn't get the job done because, and I'll quote another one of the famous coaches, Herm Edwards, hello, you play to win the game. That's the goal, right? Yeah. So nice 51 win regular season, but an embarrassing exit in the first round of the playoffs. And I hope some changes are made. Not sure how active they can be on the trade market. Draft's not going to help them. Free agency, not a lot of wiggle room there with the mid-level exception, but they need to make some changes if they want to take the next step, because it's not just going to happen from within and these guys getting a year older.
Real quick, along those lines that you just mentioned, how did you feel about listening to Kobe Altman last week? And I kind of think you just laid out. Because all he did, Kenny, was highlight the 51-win regular season and really almost tried to urge the reporters not to even talk about the playoffs and let's hone in on the 51-win regular season. I didn't like that at all. Come on, man. No, it was an abstract fail in the playoffs, because your 51 wins, if nothing else, they got everybody thinking that you're better than you really are. Yeah. But probably, that's erroneous. They're not. And they showed us why in the playoffs.
Yeah, I figured he would go down that path, but I didn't realize he'd go down that path that fast, that hard, and he did.
He sure did.
Yeah, I wasn't real thrilled with that, but, that's, me, Mr. Vegas aggressive gambler there, Reg. So, Dewey Oxberger. Just call me Dewey. All right, Reg.
Boy.
Let's put the Cavaliers to bed. Their season is over. The Browns season going to be upon us before you know it. And they added some guys to their roster over the weekend. When we come back here on the R&R podcast, on the Press Play Podcast Network, powered by MGM Northfield Park, we'll break down the 7 draft picks that let's see, get my Kobe Altman, Kevin, Andrew Barry made for the Cleveland Browns. That's coming your way next. Stay with us.
What's up, everyone? I'm Holly Wetzel.
And I'm Tybus Powell.
And we are your hosts of The Orange is Oranger, a Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network. We give you all the dog pound coverage that you'll need to get you through the regular season, hopeful postseason, and I'd say off-season, Tybus, but is there really ever an off-season for this team?
Thankfully for our podcast, Holly, there really never is when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. Don't miss our breakdown of each week's matchup, game recaps, and any and all news out of Berea to feed your Browns appetite. As we know, Holly, dogs gotta eat.
Yes, they do. So hit that subscribe button and never miss an episode of the Orange is Oranger, Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey, the Roadman, Kenny Roda here for the Reghi and Roda podcast, powered by MGM Northfield Park. And my goodness, this weekend is the weekend, people. If you've never been to Northfield Park and you're looking for, well, should I go? Yes, you should go this weekend. Why? Kentucky Derby weekend. That's right. Saturday, May 6th. Doors open at 9:30 a.m. First post for the Kentucky Derby, 10:30 a.m. They'll have live bands, food truck festival going on from 12 to 7 p.m., drink specials, prize drawings. How about this? A $2,000 Gulfstream Park handicapping contest. And I love this one. You know, me and my hats. I love wearing some derbies. A $1,000 Derby Day hat contest hosted by Seagrams and more. Advanced wagering on the Kentucky Derby starts on Friday, May 5th of 2023. That's this Saturday. Get on out to MGM Northfield Park and wager on the Derby.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
Looking for new insights on the Cleveland sports scene with a unique side of Cleveland sports history? Then you found the perfect podcast. I'm John Sable.
And I'm Scott Sable, and we're hosts of the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, a podcast about Cleveland sports, but not your typical podcast about the land's sports teams. Join us as we embark on a journey of sharing a unique and historical side of Cleveland sports history with the help of some former Cleveland sports stars and other historical figures.
All right here on the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And welcome back to the Reghi and Roda podcast here on the Press Play. That's all, folks. 3, 2, 1. And welcome back to the Reghi and Roda podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network. And we are powered by MGM Northfield Park. Make sure you get out to Northfield Park this Saturday for the Kentucky Derby. Watch and wager, eat, drink, and have a merry good time out there at MGM Northfield Park. Tell them Reghi and Roda sent you. All right, Michael, let's get into what the Cleveland Browns did in the draft. No first-round pick. No second-round pick, right? So you got to look at Deshaun Watson as your first-round pick and Elijah Moore as your second-round pick. That's who they gave up those selections for. That means they didn't start till the third round selecting players, and they had 2 picks in the third round, Michael, and I want to get your thoughts. We'll start there and then eventually get your overall thoughts on what Andrew Berry did. They started off with Cedric Tillman, the wide receiver out of Tennessee, 6'3", 213-pound wide receiver at pick number 74. And then at pick number 98 in the third round, they went defensive tackle out of Baylor in Siaki Ika. Did I get that right? I think I did. Siaki.
I think you did too.
Yeah,
we're going to go with that.
Yeah, 6'3", 335. So Siaki Ika and Cedric Tillman, their first 2 picks. Your thoughts on those moves by Andrew Berry?
Yeah, well, you know, Siaki, I think is going to do the job that he was drafted to do, Kenny. I mean, the guy is, you know, he may not have a lot of stats and this and that, but you know, his job is to, you know, play that 3 technique man right there around the center and the guards and make the Browns better at stopping the run, right? And everybody that I talked to, a few people that you know, saw him play, and they said the kid is you know, he's a hard worker and he wants to be successful, and he's not a kid. He knows what that we just said. That's his job. That's what he's got to do. He's got to be the guy that really stagnates and neutralizes another team's run game at that 3 technique right there in the middle of your defensive line. And that's what he loves to do. And he's well aware he's got to keep doing it to be a successful NFL player. So I'm okay with that pick. Cedric Tillman, you know, guy, not a speedster, you know,
right.
Got good size, did well in the red zone, certainly, at Tennessee. He was the number 2 receiver on at Tennessee. You know, Hyatt was the number 1. And I guess we're going to have to find out, Ken. To me, I don't know. To me, he's kind of like what Donovan Peoples-Jones is. So we're going to find out if he is able to get. He's obviously going to get opportunities, you know, this year to get in the rotation. And I really think the biggest thing here, Ken, I'd like to know what you think. I really think the Browns know this is probably going to be their last year, that when contract time comes up, Amari Cooper ain't going to stay with them. How do you feel about that? You get any feelings about that?
Yeah, with the moves they've made this offseason and how many different receivers they've added to the roster, right? And going out and using the first pick in the draft, even though it was a third rounder on that. I think you're right. Unless he's willing to give him a hometown discount, or if he tests the market and the market isn't that strong, as Kareem Hunt is finding out, then maybe he could be back. But yeah, that's something I think they're preparing for just in case, Reg. Where they were picking, I was okay, with Tillman. I saw him on some boards as a second rounder. On other boards, I saw him as a fourth rounder, right? So third round, that sounds about right for him. And so from that standpoint, I was okay with that. We all know they need to stop the run. And Siaki Ika is a guy that is a large man. I mean, they went large, didn't they, in this draft? I mean, next up in the fourth round, they picked up a mountain of a man in DeJuan Jones from Ohio State, offensive tackle, 6'8", 374. That means he's 40 pounds heavier than Ika is. So that's how big he is. So I like that they addressed their biggest needs with the first three picks, Reg. Wide receiver, defensive tackle, and offensive tackle, I thought was a definite need, especially for depth with them. So I like that they went that direction with the first three picks.
Yeah, I'll go with that too, because given talking about not having a first or second round pick, so what was that? What did you say? 74 was the Tillman pick?
Yep.
74 overall. So yeah, you're kind of dealing from behind the deck right there when that's the first time you get to call a name at 74. We know what they've got to be much better at this year, to be a team that can get into the playoffs and hopefully go deep into the playoffs. And so, I don't have a big issue with it, Kenny. I think all three of those young men are going to get an opportunity to at least be backups, and you're going to see them on the football field this year. And they're going to have to, give the Browns something, because you hope, especially with Tillman and the big D tackle, that they're starters at least by 2024, right?
Right.
I mean, you're going to want them as starters, be big contributors this year. And yeah, I got a feeling that some of those things with that wide receiver room, that's why they've been adding so many. And Kenny, Donovan Peoples-Jones too, they're going to have to, his rookie contract, and he's going to want more money, or the Browns going to want to give him, how much are they going to want to give him after his rookie contract's done after this year? So if you're thinking about it, that both Cooper and Peoples-Jones could be gone, you could kind of see why that they had to put a lot of emphasis starting now on what they want their wide receiver room to look like starting with the 24 season.
All right, Reg, let's go to that fourth round. We mentioned DeJuan Jones, offensive tackle out of Ohio State. Isaiah McGuire out of Missouri. I know nothing about this guy other than I was looking at grades, for these guys, and I saw a grade on him at 52. You want to be at least in the 70s, right?
Right.
If you're working your way up to a perfect score of 100 at 52, is he a one-trick pony? Is that it? Is he just an edge guy and that's all he can do? Is that why, from anybody that you've talked to, why he's got a grade of 52?
Yeah, I think that would be accurate because, again, they look at him to get after the quarterback off the edge, but I haven't heard anybody tell me or even say that he's real adept at, being a factor of being able to get off blocks, to be able to certainly help with the opponent's run game too. So, yeah, it may be. We're going to have to see. But I got to believe that's how they're looking to use him, to get after the quarterback off the edge, right? That other edge opposite Garrett was Jadeveon Clowney last year. Well, he's gone. Right. So they've got some things they got to take care of at that particular position as well.
You know what? If you're a fourth round pick like that, and you can be a one-trick pony, but you can be a pretty good one-trick pony on a team that's hoping to make the playoffs, then I'm okay with that.
Yep, that's fine.
I'm okay with that if it works out that way. So we'll see if Isaiah McGuire can do that for the Browns. All right. They took a quarterback in the fifth round out of UCLA, 6'2", 203 pounds. Dorian Thompson Robinson, 266 out of 382, so almost 70% completion percentage, 3,154 yards, 27 touchdown passes, 10 interceptions. He also rushed for 646 yards and 12 more scores. So total offense, 3,800 yards, 39 touchdowns for UCLA. Kind of fits the offensive style of one Deshaun Watson. Do you think that's why they took him, or do you think they got a steal? I don't remember this guy at all. I'll be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, I guess, saw him play somewhat. I tell you, Kenny, you know who he reminds me of?
Who's that?
Got the same last name. You remember him for the Big Ten. Back in, the Brady Hoke years before Jim Harbaugh became the head coach at Michigan.
Okay.
Remember Denard Robinson?
Is that Shoelaces?
Yeah.
I remember him. Yeah.
Yeah. Ran around real well. Broke, almost like having another running back. But as far as throwing the football in the passing game, no, not so much. So that's the same way I feel about Dorian Thompson Robinson. I mean, I've seen people say he's got a strong arm. Well, I don't know. I probably saw him play, I'm going to say a good 6 to 8 times.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In the last couple of years. He never wowed me, or he never made me look and say, wow, this guy's got a shot to be an NFL quarterback. And maybe that's because, again, without question, the top aspect of his game was using his legs to, get out of the pocket and make something good with your legs. To me, that's the kind of quarterback he is now. So, but then again, I mean, they're going to give him a chance to, like you just said, be the backup quarterback to Watson. And, we'll see if that becomes reality.
Cameron Mitchell was picked up in the fifth round as well, cornerback from Northwestern. And then they rounded out their draft with Luke Wepler, center from Ohio State, in the sixth round there at 190. So when you look at this entire draft class, considering where they selected, and by the way, Reg, I did a very good job right now of not screaming obscenities, as the Florida Panthers have just defeated the Boston Bruins in overtime in Game 7 in the first round of the playoffs. So the Bruins, who had the best regular season in the history of the NHL, are on vacation, just like the Cavaliers are right now, as they blew a 1-goal lead with a minute to go in regulation and just lost in overtime. And there went my parlay of the Celtics and the Bruins to pay me some serious cash. So I just thought I'd drop that in there because if I held it in, I might have blown a gasket or something, Reg.
I'm sorry to hear that. So Florida scored a goal in the last 60 seconds of regulation time?
Yep. And then got one here in the first overtime. They win at 4-3 and win the series 4-3. All right, there's sorry. I just had to say I couldn't keep it in, man. I just couldn't keep it in. 2
home games, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Goodness. And they lost the last 2 games, having a lead in both games. Oh, well. Anyway, so
my condolences, buddy.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Bostonian, for nothing. That's the last damn time I'm ever going to bet on the Bruins or the Celtics to win at any damn thing. The hell with them. How you like them apples, Bostonian? Oh my gosh. All right. Okay, got that off my chest. All right, so Reg, getting back to the Browns, what's your take overall on the 7 picks that they made?
Decent. I mean, decent. Again, Ken, when you don't have a first or second rounder, that don't you think? I mean, that puts you behind the 8 ball right there.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, think about that. Where they were, sort of 73 guys are going to come off the board before you even can get your voice heard. So, I'm going to say it's decent. Like I said, I think Tillman, the big D tackle, is going to have a chance to play, and probably 2. Probably the DN that they were talking about from Missouri.
Yeah. He'll get in the rotation.
Those guys are going to get chances to play and show that they belong in the NFL. So, but then again, I mean, if the Browns are looking to get in the playoffs this year, aren't they?
Yes, they are. So,
I mean, I don't know. You're going to, how it is with rookies when with opportunities. Some are gonna take them and run with them, and others are gonna fall by the wayside. So let's hope those guys in the backup minutes they're going to get this year show that they're at least got a chance to be a solid NFL player.
Reg, what did you make of the other teams in the division with their drafts? I know you follow not just the Browns, but all the teams. Just your thoughts on the rest of the division. And obviously, since we last talked, it's a big deal that the Ravens signed Lamar Stevens as well.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson.
Or I'm sorry, I got Lamar Stevens on my mind because he hit 1-3 and he should have played more in that last and whatever. But yeah, I'm all riled up because of the god darn Bruins and everything. But Lamar Jackson, that was a big day, day for them, right?
Well, that's the best thing that could ever happen to a draft is getting your starting quarterback that's gotten you to the playoffs multiple times over, getting him back. But yeah, Kenny, I got to tell you, your Steelers, man, I really liked their draft. You had to be real pleased with that.
I liked it from this standpoint. Their offensive, Roda, they're dog shit. And that's what Sindelar used to tell me off the air. All right, so I'm doing my Sindelar since we're on a podcast. I can say what he always used to tell me off the air. But they addressed the offensive line, which was a need. The secondary cornerback position with Porter, that was a need. And the defensive tackle position, because eventually Cam Hayward's going to retire and they got the kid out of Wisconsin. So I like the way they went about it, and they think they got a steal in the big tight end out of Georgia because he can act as a sixth blocker in the run game, but also be a threat in the red zone. I thought they did pretty well. And the fact that they only had to give up a 4th-round pick to move up a couple of spots, 3 spots, to get the tackle from Georgia. I thought they had maybe one of their best drafts in recent years.
No question. And I think Cincinnati went heavy defense, did they not? And, I think they felt that, offensively, with Joe Burrow as receivers, you expect them to be in pretty good shape there. And, the Baltimore Ravens, by getting, Lamar Jackson back, and look, they're going to be probably the favorite to win the division. So, I thought the Browns did okay. Again, kid, for me, it's really hard to come down on them when you don't pick until the 3rd round.
Right.
Now, you can say, well, that's part of their problem because they went out and gave all those. But let's be honest. We still got a few more months to discuss it, but we've already said it in previous podcasts. I mean, this is going to come down. Can Deshaun Watson get back to how he was his final 2 years with the Houston Texans? If he can do that when he played very well. He did not play very well in the 6 games this year. So we're going to find out if now with a whole offseason he can get – because, Kenny, that's what the Browns for this coming year, that's what it's going to come down to. I mean, I hate to be, so elementary about it, but I think it's true. If he plays well and gets back to where he was, I think the Browns will be just fine. If he's more where he was when he played the 6 games in the end of 23, I don't think that's going to be good enough.
I'm with you, Reg, and you're right. It does come down to Deshaun Watson. We talk all about these guys and whether they start or get in the rotation and whatnot and everything. No, a lot of the positions are set. They went out, they got free agents. They made the trade for Watson and more, right? So, the roster there, and they're going to start West Virginia. They're opening up camp now, July 22nd through the 30th. Yeah. They're going to some Greenbrier Resort in West Virginia. So that's where they're going to first start camp. Then they'll play in the Hall of Fame game and then come back to Berea and get it rocking and rolling. But most of the spots, who's starting, okay? And even who some of the backups are. But these other parts that they added in the draft, they're hoping at least out of the first 3 guys they got in the draft to, get maybe some snaps per week from those guys, rotational guys. And if they make a bigger impact, great. But like you said, the biggest impact has to come from Deshaun Watson.
Yep, there's no doubt about it. And you pretty much put a big exclamation point behind that. I'm expecting there to be, again, I'm not trying to be too pie in the sky, but I'm hoping that everybody tells me he's really going after it real hard in the offseason and will continue to do so. So, again, it's real simple. Can he get back to where he was? Because if he does get back to around where he was, Ken, I do think that's going to be sufficient. And the Browns are going to have, to me, a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Now, is that asking a lot for a guy who hasn't really – well, it was 3 years ago now that he last did that, right?
Right.
3 seasons ago.
Yeah.
So is it asking too much? We're going to find out when the football starts to fly.
Reg, always a pleasure to catch up with you, my friend. We'll do this again real soon. Talk some Guardians baseballs. There's through. I don't even want to go down that path today. All right. I'm already pissed off about the Cavaliers and the Bruins screwing me over on a parlay. So we'll just leave the under 500 Guardians for the next time. And hopefully they'll be over 500 by the next time we talk. How's that?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that parlay going bad on you. If it's any consolation, I would have went right with you on the same thing. But,
Reg, you ready for this? $25 to win 491 down the toilet right there, man.
Yeah, I know that's tough. You had a good play. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but your play was in the right mode.
Yeah,
I think
I
you
thought
made a
so.
good play.
Hey, that's why. Hey, Vegas wasn't built on winners, Reg. That's what they tell me.
So they tell me, buddy.
Yeah, that's the rumor going around, and I'm finding out now that gambling's legal in the Buckeyes. But the good thing about this, Reg, I'm still playing with their money. And what I mean by that is all those apps, they were giving you spend $10, they'll give you 200 free bets. So I'm still using their money. So I lost, but I didn't lose. So it doesn't hurt as bad as if I had put my own hard-earned cash down. You know what I mean?
That's right. When you're playing with their money again, it eases the sting sometimes.
Yeah. Very much so.
Okay.
All right, Reg. We'll get together again real soon, bud. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Stay well. We'll do it soon.
All right. And for everybody else out there, we appreciate you checking us out here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Reghi and Roda podcast powered by MGM Northfield Park. Again, it's Derby week. Get on out to Northfield Park and watch and wager on the Kentucky Derby Saturday, May 6th. Doors open at 9:30 a.m. First post for that Kentucky Derby, 10:30 a.m. Stick around all day. Wait for the Derby to be run, and hopefully you'll do better than I did on my Bruins and Celtics bet, and you'll walk away from MGM Northfield Park with some cash. All right, folks, thanks again going out to Ty Courts, our outstanding producer. We thank you the most, though, for tuning in to the R&R podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network. See you. Bye.